Good morning, Antioch Church of the Brethren. My name is Kyle Remnant. I'm a member at the Bridgewater Church of the Brethren up in the Shenandoah District. I'm a lifelong friend of Courtney Flory Duffy. You may call me her BFF. I'm coming to you this morning from the scenic overlook at the West Virginia Welcome Center on I-64. Not quite as clear as it is in Virginia when I left this morning. I'm going to start with a story about this exact overlook. Last spring in April, I'm a member of the JMU brass band, James Madison University. We were on our way to Fort Wayne, Indiana for a brass band competition. And our bus broke down at this exact welcome center. We had the whole day planned out around this trip. We were going to get to Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is a terrible ride on a bus, by the way. Regardless, our bus broke down here and rerouted all of our plans for the day. We were supposed to get to Fort Wayne, have a little rehearsal that evening before the competition started the next day. What do you do when you're on a bus full of 32 musicians? You grab some instruments and you sit around the woods here at the overlook and you start to play. Though the day may not have gone as we planned, we still made the most of it. I feel like that a lot this year, 2020. We entered it with such hope, and I personally, January 2nd, I will say, is the peak of my year so far. My sister had a baby. I became an uncle. He is super cute. And then from then on, stuff started happening in the world. As we have seen, has become aware of certain issues. Deaths in the family, extended family have occurred. The coronavirus has just reshaped how we do everything. 2020 is not quite what we had planned. It's not the hopeful Barbara Walters kind of jokes that we made at the beginning of the year. So I think about Jeremiah 29. We talk a lot about Jeremiah 29:11 when God says, for I know the plans that I have for you, plans to prosper, to build you hope and a future. We talk a lot about that, and it's great, especially this time of year as people graduate. We start talking about their futures, which have so much hope and excitement, and we should definitely talk about the 11th verse. But there are 10 verses before it that Jeremiah is writing a letter to the exiles in Babylon. And I don't have it with me, so I'm not going to read it, but I do encourage you, in whatever translation you have, to look up Jeremiah 29, which, by the way, when I Googled it this morning, I typed in Jeremiah, and the first entry was Jeremiah Johnson, which is apparently a 1972 Western film starring Robert Redford. Then after that was Jeremiah 29, the second entry in terms of Google trying to finish your search when you type in Jeremiah. I thought it might be Jeremiah was a bullfrog. It wasn't. Anyway, so Jeremiah 29 is Jeremiah's letter to the exiles in Babylon. And the whole time he is talking about while you're in exile, go ahead, build homes for yourselves, plant, sow, get married, have sons and daughters. Basically, keep living your lives, because in verse 10 it says, only after Babylon's 70 years are up will I bring you back to the place that I have promised. So we have this whole 10 verses before the one we quote the most, that, hey, yes, there are plans for a future, for hope, but sometimes we are stuck in the middle of an unknown area for an unknown length of time, and things just feel not right. We get restless. We become weary. But God is with us still through it all. So why am I at the West Virginia Welcome Center on what is a Friday morning? My parents' anniversary, by the way, June 12th. Yay, them. I'm on my way to pick up my cousin in Chicago. I have my mask ready, by the way. Match my JMU purple. I'm going to pick him up and bring him back to Virginia for my grandmother's memorial service on Monday. My grandmother was not always the most talkative person in terms of her faith, but she was able to show us grandkids, at least, that no matter what's going on, you are loved. And I think that that was her embodiment of Christ's love. Just to always, no matter what is going on, just to be that example of love for someone else, whether it's family, friends, a stranger that you meet, or someone you know who's going through a rough time. Because you don't, yes, we all experience this uncertainty together, but everyone experiences it differently. And I think the best thing we can do is just hold on to that hope, but also be a presence of hope for someone else. So I am driving to Chicago as kind of I love road trips as a way to process things, but also in times of grief in the family, my cousin and I tend to bring out the joy in each other and in the rest of the family. So for me, my journey to Chicago is this kind of self-exploration in a way, but also there is a destination, but there's so much that happens in the journey. And wherever you are in the journey, wherever we are in our exile, God is still with us, even though the promise of the future is there. So we don't know necessarily what's going on now, but God is still with us in the journey. And while we are in it, we can continue to be the love and the peace that others need in that time. So Antioch, my wish for you is to find the joy in the journey and to be the love of Christ for one another. It's nice being with you. I wish you all the very best in your COVID shutdown, whatever stage of life you are in, and may the peace of Christ be with you all.